Hey guys, thank you all so much once again for tuning back in. Happy Thursday, and let's get right into another recap. So today, if you guys saw from the thumbnail, fortunately it was able to be another green day. I was up on the day $92.91 on TQs, and I was only down 18 pennies on SQs. So very happy with how I was able to manage my risk today, and yeah, our account as a whole was up over $200, but that's because of our swing trades. But in terms of day trading, here are all my filled orders, 52 of them, and I only traded SQs and TQs just like I always do, right? And right around here was my first trades, and they were on SQQQ, meaning I thought the market was going to fall. I'm going to walk through that with you guys. But ultimately, as you guys saw, I was able to make my money off TQQQ, meaning I made my money as the market was able to recover and go up. So I'll walk through that with you guys. But if you guys noticed, my last trade was at 7:31 in the morning, so I was only trading today for like an hour, and yeah, I was just very happy with it, so I decided to walk away because I did have other stuff going on. But yeah, let me walk through my trades with you. So this is how it looked throughout the whole day, the NASDAQ, and what I really kind of wanted to go over was starting from right around here was the market open at 6:30 in the morning. That's when the NASDAQ opens up. And I told you guys my first few trades I wanted to get into SQQQ, meaning I was thinking that the NASDAQ as a whole was going to start to fall, right? Just to remind you guys, SQQQ is the inverse ETF of the NASDAQ, so it acts in direct inverse, basically, of everything the NASDAQ does, right? So you'll notice it basically looks like the exact direct opposite of what the NASDAQ was doing if you look at the patterns, right? Anytime the NASDAQ started to push, this would start to fall, and vice versa. Anytime the NASDAQ starts to fall, that means the inverse ETF I was just on, SQQQ, will start to push up. So that's why I was in an SQQQ at first, because I saw the market immediately started to downtrend right out of the gate when the market opened up, and it started to fall aggressively, right, with these big red candles, and I just want to do my part in going with direction on the day. So I actually got faked out a few times getting into SQQQ, because you'll notice my first trade wasn't until 6:34, 6:35, right? I took another one at 6:36, and that is right around here. After I let direction identify itself a little, right? It kept falling. I ended up getting stopped out a few times by this bounce right here. And I ended up taking another SQQ play once it bounced, because I thought it was going to continue falling below this blue EMA line, right? And it did start going my way for a little, ultimately to find a big support here and start going. So I did start the day off in the red because I thought the market was going to keep downtrending, right? That's why I was in SQQQ. But I did ultimately end up making my money on TQQQ, because obviously the market ended up reversing. And what did I see to make me think I should switch directions on the day? It was basically these big little green candles here. I noticed that the overall market was downtrending aggressively, but it did just open up somewhat recently, right? And the market does tend to kind of want to change directions, right? Every time your market open, it really kind of flip-flops usually and tries to change direction, and today it took a little longer, right? But I saw when the market really wanted to sell off, these big green candles would form after, right? It did sell off again, but these are nice sized green candles, and they were big enough to make me think that there was a move that was trying to push the NASDAQ up, right? So I got faked out on it. I decided to get into SQQQ again as it started to fall. Ultimately, obviously faked me out again. And it's not until I saw this big green candle here and this kind of hold above this blue line. You see how anytime it was trending below the blue line, it would be a sign that it would just keep falling, right? Selling off. I was waiting for a kind of break of that pattern, and I wanted it to start trending above this blue EMA line. So once I saw a break above and kind of want to hold and start going, that's when I decided to start loading in and averaging up for a move in the upside, right? There's two different times here where I average up fully, meaning I bought in with a quarter and I buy in 3 more times right after, right? Same thing here, and I end up selling it. And the reason why is because I just want to start riding it for the way up and prepare for any resistance. So I started to load up heavy as it started to go, right? Show signs it wanted to. And I offloaded a lot of my shares here because I saw potential for there to be this kind of lower high pattern, right? And for it to get rejected here. So once I offloaded the majority of my shares, and once I saw it started to keep going again and break this resistance, I decided to load up again because it was showing signs it wanted an uptrend, right? And I would just personally cut it wherever I don't feel comfortable holding it still, which is kind of right around this area where previously got rejected. So obviously I sold very, very early and ended up rallying the rest of the day of the market, right? And it did have these areas where it became overbought finally and did start to sell off, but in terms of the day, I was done trading right around 7:30 in the morning, right? That was right around here when I saw that the market really just wanted to keep up the pattern, and I made my money on the day, so I wanted to walk away. But if someone were to have kept trading, there was definitely still opportunity, and what I would have been on the lookout for is that the NASDAQ, while it kept wanting to hold above this blue EMA line, right? I would just keep going with direction, right? I personally would not try and find the bottom, so maybe would have thought right around here would have been the bottom, only to get faked out, right? And for it to keep pushing higher. So I would just keep going with direction, and what would tell me maybe there was a move for SQQQ, right? A potential move like from the top here to the middle here. That's a nice size drop. And what would make me think that is once I see the NASDAQ no longer wants to trend above this top VWAP, like it kind of did here, right? It was doing a good job of trying to hold above it. It was kind of fizzling out here, right? Every time it would approach it, it would get rejected hard, and it no longer wanted to keep breaking above it. So once I would see something like that form and maybe a little fall for a lower high, you can see that it now starts to want to trend below this blue line, right? It kind of briefly passes above it only to start selling off, and this is a nice size play you could have captured. And it would have been smart maybe to offload around here because of these potential for lower highs, right? The NASDAQ could have gone hard, sold off a little, and then bounced a little like it kind of did. But ultimately, just like it did here, you could see it did start fizzling out near the top VWAP, and once it starts to fall below this blue EMA line, it tends to start kind of selling off quickly and using it as a resistance. So I'd pay attention to this blue line here. That's something I've been noticing in my own trading that really gives you a good basically a good way to identify where direction's headed, right? If it tends to trend above it and break above this blue EMA line, it kind of tends to want to ride it up for higher highs and higher lows, right, as a support. And anytime it dips below it, it kind of wants to tend to use it as a resistance now, and it won't pass it and keep selling off. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that, guys. Thank you guys all so much for tuning back in. I hope it was a nice and simple recap for you guys, and I hope you all understood my thought process. Make sure to leave any comments if you have any questions down below, and yeah, really appreciate you guys watching the video, and I will see you guys all tomorrow. Take care.